this afternoon's session. We will be hearing from the Honourable Rob Fleming, as well as a panel discussion discussing Canada's connection to the world, BC's transportation and supply chain. It's now my pleasure to welcome this session's sponsor, the Prince Rupert Port Authority, to welcome our afternoon keynote.
Hi, my name is Ken Veldman, and I'm the Vice President of Public Affairs and Sustainability for the Prince Rupert Port Authority. We've been a strong supporter of the BC Natural Resource Forum for many years, and we're committed to ensuring that this forum continues its important role of creating awareness, discussion, and alignment around the opportunity of the resource sector in this province. We hope you're enjoying the forum. We'd like to thank the organizers and all of you, the participants, for convening this virtual event. The Port of Prince Rupert is the third largest port in Canada, and the trade and transportation activities associated with moving $60 billion worth of goods every year fuels a significant economic engine. We're proud of the thousands of direct jobs that this activity creates in communities across northern BC as we compete with other West Coast ports in North America for cargo which we know has choice. But we're equally as proud of the critical role that the port plays in competitively moving BC's natural resources to international markets. The port's growth in capacity and capabilities to ship forestry and mining, agriculture, petrochemical products have been a critical part of ensuring that BC exporters and the communities that depend on them can continue to adapt and diversify their businesses in a dynamic global market. Northern BC alone exports nearly $20 billion worth of goods annually, almost exclusively tied to the natural resource sector. And this is where our interests with the BC government are fully aligned, where we know that there is a strong awareness of the vital role that resource industries continue to play in BC's economic base and the provincial government's revenue picture. The BC government has been very supportive of port growth in Prince Rupert. We're confident that Minister Fleming sees and understands the economic resiliency, opportunity, and competitiveness that the expansion of northern BC's trade corridor unlocks. And as evidence, I point to his government's recent commitment of $25 million towards port infrastructure that will unlock new and innovative container capacity designed to increase the competitiveness of BC's natural resource exports. And on that note, I'm very pleased to be able to introduce this afternoon's keynote speaker, the Honourable Rob Fleming, British Columbia's Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure.
Good afternoon. I'm Rob Fleming, and I'm pleased to join you today as BC's Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure. And I'm grateful to be joining you from the territory of the Lekwungen-speaking peoples, otherwise known as the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations. Thank you so much for the invitation to be part of the 2022 BC Natural Resources Forum. It's unfortunate that once again COVID-19 has made it impossible for us to be with each other in person, but I think we're all well familiar at this point in the pandemic with the default video option. I want to say a few words about the unfolding situation as regards BC's heavily damaged infrastructure from what happened in the tail end of 2021 as we look out ahead of the new year in 2022. The situation is dynamic in terms of the repairs that we're doing to our highway infrastructure. It's subject to change on short notice. And it's probably important that I note that I'm speaking to you on Monday, January 10th, and also subject to change. The past few months have shown that yet again how important our supply chains are for the economy of British Columbia, for almost every aspect of our daily lives. And that's why I want to take this opportunity to thank so many people who provide their tireless expertise after November's historic weather event to make sure that British Columbians continue to receive the goods they need. That hard work and resilience on the ground is complemented by discussions initiated by forums just like this, across multiple systems with a common goal, which is to find the most efficient and reliable way to get goods and resources to market. We all know that Canada's international trade relies on corridors that integrate road, rail, air, and ports. And all of these were affected in some way by the flooding. And it has taken remarkable effort and cooperation by government, industry, and individuals just to keep BC running. The COVID-19 pandemic and last summer's wildfire season have shown us that the people of this province will always step up when great challenges present themselves. So when the first storms hit almost 2 months ago, I was pleased, but I was not altogether surprised by how British Columbians made the sacrifices necessary to make sure our province received what it needs to begin the recovery process. British Columbians helped look after one another, including people who were displaced from flood-affected communities like Merritt, Princeton, and Abbotsford. Meals were prepared by gurdwaras, churches, and Rotary clubs and delivered to stranded truck drivers. And of course, the military helped helicopter people out of situations where they were trapped with debris and mudslides. Valuable livestock was stabled by strangers to keep animals safe and fed. It has, in short, been an incredible collective effort by people in an extraordinary time. I would like to discuss our supply chain and provide a general update as to where we are almost 2 months after the flooding. Our government's ongoing focus has been to ensure that the products that people rely on are getting to where they need to be after so much of the province's key highway infrastructure sustained damage. I had the opportunity to meet with representatives from the trucking sector and others involved in the supply chain recently, and this was primarily a listening exercise for me and an opportunity to hear directly from those companies on the ground, to hear from them. What are we doing well as a province? What can we do better? How can government better support the people and companies who are moving the goods through our province? The response to the challenges posed by recent event has required resilience and quick collaborative thinking. When the Coquihalla sustained significant damage that required its closing, we used Highway 3, our lone commercial truck route to the interior, and we created a detour route through the United States to move products to market. The Trans-Canada Highway is vitally important to our supply chain, and Highway 1 in the Fraser Canyon, where 7 different sites were impacted, will, we hope, reopen very soon. A temporary detour, including an at-grade rail crossing, was built at Tank Hill in record time. A temporary single-lane bridge is allowing vehicles to cross the Nickaman Bridge, which was damaged and needs to be repaired. And we've also installed a single-lane temporary bridge at Jackass Mountain, where a large section of 2-lane road was completely wiped out. Of course, I think the greatest achievement to date, since these storms affected our province so heavily, was the temporary repairs we made to the Coquihalla Highway, which enabled it to open to commercial traffic just 1 month after it was heavily damaged. And last week it was open to all vehicles. And this may well be one of the most remarkable feats of highway engineering and construction in recent memory in this province, and a significant milestone in the reactivation of our economic supply chains. Over 20 separate sites along the corridor were severely impacted, including sections of roadways that completely washed away and multiple bridges that collapsed. The response by our maintenance contractors, subcontractors, and engineers to get the Coquihalla open is as unprecedented as the storms that caused the damage in the first place. Crews worked around the clock alongside crews that were repairing the TMX in very challenging conditions. They quickly completed temporary repairs. They allowed traffic to once again move along that corridor. And now government is working with the sector on permanent repairs that we are planning to carry out. While crews continue to work on temporary repairs to these routes, the province has issued requests for qualifications for companies that are interested in helping to rebuild the infrastructure. These highways will be built back better by taking climate change into account. And with any of the work we're doing now across the province, our design engineers are required to take climate change into account. How will future changes to weather affect the infrastructure is the question we ask with every project that undergoes examination. What can be done to make our roads and bridges more resilient? These are some of the questions that we consider as we plan and engineer our projects. And this new approach means appropriate climate adaptation is considered over the entire design life of our infrastructure. Of course, highways are just one component of our transportation system, as the storms also affected our ability to move goods by rail, air, and port. The interruptions were thankfully relatively brief, as CP Rail resumed moving freight and CN worked hard to reopen a mainland between Kamloops and Vancouver. Airlines increased cargo flights, and altogether this has made a tremendous difference. And it's because of these Herculean efforts by these people that provide us with peace of mind, knowing that the shelves of our local stores are fully stocked. From repairing roadways to finding creative ways to move products, this truly has been a remarkable effort by thousands of people. This includes Indigenous levels of government, the federal government, provincial and local governments, and hundreds of companies as well as trade unions, all pulling in the same direction, working together in the interests of British Columbia. It was remarkable to see even competitors pausing their own corporate interests to ensure that important goods kept rolling. Canada and the US came to an agreement in record time to allow commercial drivers to use American highways to bypass our closed and damaged roads. Rail operators shared tracks to keep trains moving, and the movement of feed was prioritized so it could get to where it was needed most. for animals that were part of our livestock and farming sector. We still have a long way to go to have our supply chains back to where we want them to be, and it will take further collaboration for us to get there. With goods and supplies starting to move, a supply chain recovery working group was established to ensure that those goods will flow as efficiently as possible through the province. It involves both the provincial and the federal government working with companies and industry stakeholders right across the supply chain. Ports, airports, railways, towboats, the fuel industry, and others, all of them are involved in the remarkable cooperation required to make sure we can get things back and running at normal levels. And while the group has been created to respond to November's flood event, it's also the first step in what will be a continuing effort to ensure the ongoing viability of our supply chain. Climate change means that we now live in a world that seems to present us with new challenges every season. This new world means that in some cases, the old ways of doing things need to be reevaluated. This working group and this forum are both examples of the kind of collaboration that will be necessary to ensure that we can successfully adapt. We will never forget the lessons we've learned from the past couple of months. While together we've made incredible progress, we still have a long way to go. In some cases, it will be many months before our transportation corridors have been restored to their previous condition. But again, thanks to the efforts of countless people that are nothing short of heroic, people are moving again, and goods and supplies are moving again. We're getting there, the same way we've overcome other recent challenging situations in this province. It's how we'll deal with future situations, by working together. And it is in that spirit of collaboration that I extend my very best wishes to all attendees of the 2022 Natural Resources Forum. Thank you so much.
I'm Luke Showerty, Vice President Asset for LNG Canada. Thanks to the thousands of highly skilled British Columbians, construction on the LNG Canada project has now surpassed the 50% completion mark. We're moving swiftly and safely towards commissioning and startup, and to delivering a world-class liquefied natural gas facility in northwestern BC, in the traditional territories of the Haisla Nation. Our asset will provide clean, made in BC LNG to places that need low carbon, affordable energy. Providing opportunities for British Columbia and energy for the world is no small feat. LNG Canada is a massive undertaking that relies on lasting local and Indigenous relationships, skills training and workforce development, innovation, and strength of purpose. It's proof that by working together, we can accomplish great things. We're grateful for the Government of British Columbia's steadfast support for our project and for the natural resource development in this province. In particular, I want to thank Rob Fleming for his participation at this forum and for his efforts to keep BC moving and building, especially through this unprecedented pandemic. Minister Fleming, you and your government have helped BC continue to shine with one of Canada's strongest, most resilient economies. We're proud to be able to contribute to this success. Thank you again, and safe travels.
Thank you, Mr. Showerty. This now concludes our afternoon keynote address. Please return to the agenda and select the next session to view the live stream, Panel 7, Canada's Connection to the World, BC's Transportation and Supply Chain. Note the next session will have a live Q&A, and we'll see you there in a few minutes.